Hello, this is Yogeshwar, and we will be discussing about a very important topic today, which relates to the seventh house. As you can see on the screen, you see a horoscope, and this is of a lady, a horoscope of a lady, which is approximately about 47 years of age. And when she came to me, she described that she's having major issues relating to her marriage and relationships. She got divorced about 15 years ago or 18 years ago when she was in her 20s. And then subsequently, she got into several other relationships which also did not succeed. And she came to me wondering as to what the problem was. Is it related to her planets, her birth chart, so on and so forth? And we did an analysis for her, and we came up with certain things. Here, as you see on your screen, the ascendant is Libra, and I'm going to read it to you just in case it's not clear. The ascendant is Libra, and Ketu is sitting in the ascendant. There is no planet in the second house. There is no planet in the third house. There is no planet in the fourth house. There is no planet in the fifth house. Saturn is sitting in her sixth house. And there are four planets in the seventh house: Rahu, Mercury, Moon, and Sun. There is no planet in the eighth house. There is Venus sitting in the ninth house. There is Jupiter sitting in the 10th house. There is no planet in the 11th house, and there is Mars in the 12th house. So this is what her horoscope says. And she's otherwise extremely successful in her career. She is a very noted professor of a known university. She has authored several books, and so she's a very successful writer as well. But the major problem here with her birth chart is related to her marriage and relationships. So we did an analysis of this, and as we have discussed in our previous videos, that the marriage and relationships, as per the scriptures, are related to the seventh house. And see what planets are sitting in the seventh house: Rahu, Mercury, Moon, and Sun. So it becomes very evident just by looking at this birth chart as to what the problem is with this lady, why her marriage has not been successful, and why her subsequent relationships, which you can even say long-term relationships she is looking for, are not successful. And here, as you can see, that Rahu is a major malefic which is sitting in the seventh house. That is a major problem with her relationships. Now, another problem which you see in her seventh house is Rahu and Sun conjunct, meaning Rahu and Sun are together in one zodiac sign. So what does this say? This says that Rahu is creating a problem or an eclipse on Sun, and this is a major dosha which creates a problem, and this is what is creating one major problem in her seventh house. The second problem which you can see on the seventh house with this person is that Moon and Sun are together, and whenever Moon and Sun are together, it forms a major dosha, and dosha means defect in Sanskrit, a major dosha which is called Amavas dosha, wherein Moon loses its power completely. And as you can see, Moon is at 23 degrees and Sun is at 24 degrees, so Moon is completely powerless here. And Moon and Sun being together is creating this dosha. So the first dosha with the seventh house of this person is Rahu, as it is a malefic, which is destroying the seventh house. The second dosha is Rahu and Sun conjunct, where Sun is being eclipsed by Rahu completely, which is creating a problem to the 7th house. And the third problem here is Moon and Sun together, which is called an Amavas dosha. Whenever Moon and Sun come together, they create this dosha and create all kinds of problems. So that is the third, actually fourth. Rahu, the first problem, Rahu Sun conjunction, second problem, Moon Sun conjunction, the third problem. So this is the third problem. And the fourth problem related to the 7th house is that Rahu and Moon are together, which also causes a lunar eclipse. Like Rahu causes an eclipse, a solar eclipse with Sun, and lunar eclipse with Moon. So Moon is also eclipsed by Rahu, and whenever planets become powerless or combust or weak or not able to give good results, then they create all kinds of problems. So these are the four major issues related to the 7th house with this person's chart. And on top of that, as you would have discussed or as you would have noticed in the previous video which we discussed, related to the Mangalik dosha, or the dosha created by the planet Mars, which destroys a relationship. If you see here, Mars is sitting in the 12th house and it is aspecting the 7th house of marriage and relationships through its 8th house aspect. So if you count 8 from Mars, which is sitting in the 12th house, you will see that there is a major aspect here to the 7th house. And what does that do? Well, first of all, Mars sitting in the 12th house will aspect the 12th house, will aspect the 7th house, which itself is a problem. Then it is aspecting the 7th house and aspecting the planet Rahu, which is in the 7th house, which is causing Angarak dosha. Whenever Mars and Rahu are together, they cause Angarak dosha. Or whenever Mars aspects Rahu or Rahu aspects Mars, an Angarak dosha is formed, which is extremely inauspicious. So these are actually, if you count it, there are 6 problems related to the 7th house in this birth chart. So as astrologers, you have to be very careful whenever you read a horoscope to be able to judge a horoscope from all angles. And we are not even going into the Navansha chart or the D9 chart right now, because that's going into more details, and we are going to have more discussions on the Varga charts or the divisional charts or the D9 chart or the Navansha chart, which actually is a chart of marriage specifically as described by Sage Parashara. We are not even discussing that right now. We are just discussing the main chart. And as astrologers, you have to see, and then you have to go into the Ashtak Varga, and also you have to determine the position of the 7th house from the moon and from the sun as well. And as you'll see, from the moon and from the sun, the 7th house comes to the zodiac sign of Libra, where Ketu is sitting, which is another malefic, and aspected by Rahu. So it is in the axis of Rahu and Ketu again. So it's kind of a very peculiar situation, where it seems that there is no respite. If you look at the chart from the Lagna, there is a problem. If you look at the chart from the moon, there is a problem. If you look at the chart from the sun, there is a problem. If you look at the chart where there is Mars sitting in the 12th house, it is aspecting the 7th house, there is another major problem. So what do you determine from this chart? Is there a way out? And as per the scriptures, the great sages, and the recent researchers of astrologers, and as per the Vedas, there have been several cases where remedial measures do work. So, what kind of a remedy would you suggest to this person so that this person can find the right partner, get into a relationship, get married, and eventually settle down? Because it's been a while where this person has been alone and lonely. And if you look at the chart on the 10th house here, Jupiter is sitting as exalted, and I just explained to you that she has a very successful career. Because see, Jupiter exalted in Cancer in the 10th house, that is what has given her successful career. And her writing skills are good, and she's known because, as we know, 10th house is the karma sthana, or the sthana related to work and name and fame and so on and so forth. So going back to the remedies, what kind of remedies would you suggest to this person? And there are remedies related to gemstones, there are remedies related to mantras, there are remedies related to rudrakshas, and there are remedies related to yantras, and we will be going into details in those in our other videos. But as astrologers, you should be able to determine as to what would be the remedy. Sometimes fasting can be a good remedy. Sometimes color therapy can be a good remedy. Sometimes flower therapy can also be a good remedies, and these are very effective remedies. Sometimes Lal Kitab remedies do work like magic, and we've had a video on Lal Kitab earlier. So at this point, I am not going to be discussing on remedies. I'm just discussing this chart, which is related to the 7th house issues, and I'm just trying to explain you through an example as to how Vedic astrology makes a lot of sense based on practically what this person or this lady has experienced in her life of 47 years until now, completely unsuccessful in marriage and relationships. So that ends our discussion on an example of the 7th house, and we will be taking up another topic in our next video. In the meantime, check out my video below. Check out my website below. There's a link to it if you look down, and we will meet you in another video. Thank you.